All right, everyone. Thanks for coming to the Berea Planning Commission business session. This is our January 28th meeting, and this is our first one. Happy New Year to everybody, since I've seen everybody, so Happy New Year. And so we're calling to order. Our first order of business is election of officers. So that sounds very official.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Greg Lakes for chairman.
Okay, I have a nomination for chair. Do I have any second?
I'll second that.
Second by Denise. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any other? So we need a vice chair.
Martin Richards is the current vice chair, and Ben Robinson is the current secretary.
I'll make a motion to nominate Martin for vice chair.
Second.
Motion and second on the vice chair for Martin Richards. And all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, I know, I was just kind of taking it as it was, so I just wanted to jump in there, we're open to that. And, so, also open for secretary.
Make a motion that we nominate Ben Robinson for secretary.
I second that.
Motion and second on Ben for secretary.
And I accept that.
Perfect. Even better.
There we go. It's entirely up to you, Martin. It's entirely up to you.
So, all in favor, there's a motion and a second for Ben as secretary, Ben Robinson, and, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So, we have officers, and we're ready to go for 2025. Things are happening. Okay, recognize any visitors that may not be on the agenda or anything tonight. I think everybody is on the agenda, so we're good. All right, let's look at the minutes for November 11th, 2024. Any concerns, questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Berea Planning Commission minutes from Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. As presented.
Motion,
I'll second that.
we have a second. Any discussion? There is none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll accept those minutes.
So can I just ask a quick clarification? It says on the agenda, it says the minutes for November 11th. Was that meeting on the 11th or the 12th in November?
Let me check the calendar.
Let's get it right.
12th.
Perfect. Thank you.
So we'll make that correction, thank you.
Nice catch there,
Yeah,
secretary.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and I know we're rolling along. We got the basketball game here in a little while, so we'll just keep rolling. Old business, Fincastle subdivision phase 1. This is Lester Stewart, bond reduction.
I will represent that. I thought Les was supposed to be here. He might have thought the meeting was at 6:30, so he may come in. But I'll just go ahead and represent this for him. So Fincastle has over 75% built out their subdivision. In December, we accepted their streets into city maintenance. They have 4 remaining vacant lots. So they are requesting to reduce the bond from $210,950 to $9,000. So you should have had in your packet a bond estimate. And so what that shows, this one, the bond estimate for Fincastle, shows they have 382 linear feet of sidewalks remaining on those 4 lots. As a general rule, we use $18 a foot, and then add the 25% contingency per our city regulations. So the total of that being $8,595. I think just for simplicity, he said, let's call it 9, and agreed to that. And that was our conversation as of today. So again, I don't want to speak for him, but have talked to him, have talked through this with him several times. Again, roads are in. Oh, there's Les. You're up. So Fincastle is asking for the reduction to $9,000, and now Les is here if you have questions.
I got a question. When was the $18 established, and is that enough?
So we confirmed that in early 2024, after COVID, we looked at those numbers again, had that reviewed by our city engineer. He agreed that in beginning of 2024, that was enough.
All right. And then the original or current amount is $210,950. Is there cents in there?
No sense.
Okay.
Now that bond is good until November 29th of 25. What we would ask you to do is reduce that to $9,000 for 1 year, so that it would take it out till January of 26. And what I have told Les is that the final plat was approved in July of 21. So to make his 5-year max that we've kind of set on putting all the sidewalks in, that would give him until July of 2026 to put those remaining sidewalks in.
So we're actually asking for an extension to January
No.
28th to 2026.
I think we would be approving a new bond amount for 1 year. It's sort of how I was looking at it.
Are we
What the
starting
bank is-
today, or are we?
Yeah, what the bank is not, the bank will have to issue a whole new letter of credit. And they will issue it for a year either way. That's what we found.
Okay.
So it's a reduction,
So it's a reduction
but we're doing it
for 1 year from
for
today's
the
date.
new amount.
Okay.
Okay, other questions? Chair is open for a motion.
You
You're
got the
ma-
figures, Martin.
you're making
When
them-
it's up to down.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to reduce the current bond estimate, current bond for Fincastle subdivision Phase 1 from $210,950 to $9,000 for 1 year until January 28th, 2026.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion before we go to vote? Everybody okay? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. New business. Rear property development. Ridgewood Villas Townhomes, final plat. Mr. Sowers.
Hello,
Hey,
Pat Sowers with Bria Property Development. We brought this to you guys, I don't know, several months back, and at that time it was 48 individual lots or pads. They're gonna be townhomes. They'll be individually deeded. We have since reduced that to 42 total. Try to create a little more space. They do share a common party wall that we'll be dealing with. It's developed. The utilities are in, the streets in, curb, blacktop, and so forth. There's been an HOA set up, waiting for some final restrictions to finish up after tonight's meeting, hopefully. And we have a couple notes, Amanda, we needed to address. Go ahead.
As part of this final plat approval, so I've shown the area on the aerial map in purple there, just to give you an idea of where this is. So if you come into Calico, these are the lots there on the left side of what I call the horseshoe. And, so again, the roads are in, all the infrastructure's in. They're asking for, you'll see on the plat, along the frontage, along Ridgewood Drive, there, with the old lot layout, there would have been a 25-foot building line and utility and drainage easement. But because we've created these roads, these private roads off of these 4 lots, those lots will actually kind of turn. And they're asking to reduce that 20-foot building or 25-foot building line utility and drainage easement to 20 feet. With this approval, my understanding is there's no utilities in there. The utilities that need to be there can be served out of the 20 feet. We know the sewers in the back.
That is correct. I think also, we asked each water and sewer and all if there's any objection. No one had any, at least at the development review team. And so we're trying to create a little more green space. It allowed me to kind of put the units, instead of combining them all into 6 and 7 units, all attached. You have to have a minimum of 3 connected in order to meet the R1TA zone. So it allowed it to look like they'll look somewhat like triplexes. There'll be several different designs. There's some cottages, some ranches. There's some 2 stories with garage, and there's also some ranches with garage. We had good luck selling those down in Harvest Park. The cottage, the ranch ones seem to be in high demand more than the 2 stories. So we opt to do that again. The one other variance we talked about with Amanda is, you'll see the, I don't know how to describe it really.
So this area, well, I will say, along Ridgewood Drive, if you come down from Ridgewood Drive, there's a large East Kentucky Power transmission line easement here. So this block, which if you look on the aerial map, is this top lot. This kind of area right here is reserved for a utility easement, and there will be no townhomes constructed in that. What you see is, so these are just a single row that'll be served by this road. On these others, you see this road that'll be the frontage of both of these sets of lots. In between each of these, so this will be the backs of each unit, there's at least a 20-foot utility and drainage easement, access easement. This will be part of the common area that'll be maintained by the homeowners association, so that they will mow and maintain kind of all of these areas surrounding the individual parcels. But the variance itself is to, if we look at this typical lot detail right here, and this is what I called out on their review, they're showing a 0-foot rear setback. Our regulations call out a 10-foot setback. But what that does is that puts these building lines back in the middle of this easement. And what the idea is to be able to have this green space that can be mowed, maintained by the HOA, really not part of these individual lot ownerships. So the variance would be a blanket variance for all lots, all 42 lots, for a 0-foot rear yard setback. What that will allow them to do is build back to this rear yard, build back to the property line but still have the required fire separation distance that we need to meet building code. It gives us access, it gives us a space for utilities in this minimum of 20 feet. So I think you've got some that are 20, some are 23.
Some are, I think even one might be 31. I mean, you know, I guess in theory, we could draw that line back through there and create the 10-foot rear setback. But for simplicity and for, probably easier with the utilities, that the HOA, if it's part of the common area, the HOA and utilities, they're all utility and drainage easements, so anywhere that's a common area that is designated as access, then we have a right to, the utility companies have a right to get in and use and do. So we did keep in mind that we have the fire separation that the fire chief wanted, which is the purpose of the 10-foot rear setback. But for as much as the utilities and all of the, this probably makes more sense from my side, but that's your guys' call.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sowers, I find this kind of exciting. You didn't talk about this 10-foot, well, I'm looking at this 10-foot space between these blocks of units.
Mm-hmm.
And it all kind of goes up to the common space up at
It does.
the north end, right? But earlier you mentioned something about single story versus two-story.
There's a combination. The top six are designed are ranch style with little porches. I made it where they're interchangeable. There's a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, there's a 2-bedroom with a garage, but they're all in ranches because we had a lot of demand for, could have sold a lot more of those than I could the 2 stories. Lots of people, for instance, and we had a lot of people that moved in. I think we only had 8 or 9 that we had different people move in. We had elderly folks that their kid was living with them, taking care of them, and so it kind of worked out. And no one wanted to mow. No one. They just kind of wanted their little space, and that was it. Probably the one, I won't say complaint, but the one thing that would have probably enhanced was to have a few garages to go with them. So we tried to accommodate that, and also still keep a small footprint of 12 to 1,300 square feet. The ones in Harvest Park, I think the least we sold with 2-story was maybe 180, and then the ranches went anywhere from 208 to 229, and stayed in there. So it seems to be I hate to use the word affordable because it's expensive for such a small square foot, but at the same time, there's nothing else there in that range. So
So this 10-foot, I don't know what I want to call it.
it's just a grass strip.
Yeah, okay. So the units on either side of that, are they single story, two-story?
They are
They're
single.
single story?
They are.
Okay. 'Cause if it's 2-story, 10 feet can seem rather narrow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But,
The 10 feet allows us to meet some fire separation. If it's 8 feet, it causes significant cost because the wall there on each side would have to be fire rated and so forth. And so we kind of keep that in mind with Amanda's guidance to kind of keep that in thought as we go through it, to get the separation where we can keep the cost in a certain way, but we can also meet the requirements that we have to do.
no, I like that. I like that.
I hope a lot more people do. I need 42 more people to like this. Any questions?
Other questions? Any thoughts, concerns?
I have a question. So what is being asked is us to approve
Final plat?
final plat with the
approval.
blanket variance for 0 lot setbacks.
For 0-foot rear yard setbacks on each townhome lot.
I think the note on the plat says for lots there's 42 lots, where all 42 lots should be granting a 0 variance on the rear setback. And then we'd also be granting on the Ridgewood side a 5-foot variance, reducing that from 25 to 20-foot, utility and drainage easement
Along Ridgewood Drive.
along Ridgewood Drive.
Is that written down anywhere?
Mm-hmm. Your notes, number 21 and 22. It calls it a waiver, but in this case, I think it would technically be a variance. So the two notes say, oh wait, let me make sure. Oh, no, I'm sorry, note number 20, waiver is hereby requested, reduce the building line and utility drainage easement from 25 to 20 feet along Ridgewood Drive. And then the waiver is on note 21, a waiver is hereby requested, reducing the typical rear building line. And for us, we don't care about that easement, so I would say just the rear building setback line to 0 for for lots 1 through 42.
Yeah, from 10 foot to 0 for all lots.
Can that be in one motion? We have to make two motions.
I would think one motion would be appropriate because, it really changes the plat significantly in the lot layout if either of those aren't applicable.
Hey, and we got Ridgewood Drive blacktop too. Don't forget that.
We did they were able to
It was
get
a Christmas
Ridgewood
gift for
Drive.
Amanda.
That was paved, so much needed paving that's been done.
Before it went down to 0, right?
There was several inches of pavement that hadn't been done, and we felt like when we did this, that in order for it to look new and a new development, that we agreed to do a portion of that, and Wendell did his portion, of course, and we did ours, and kind of spruced it up a little bit.
Yes,
Because I
it
think
looks
you guys,
nice.
the city did the
This,
Ridgewood back where the old duplexes are, been there for a long time, so they had done that repair and it stopped, and so we got it down to Tractor Supply now, I think, they're to the intersection, so.
Yep. So all new pavement from, Tractor Supply to the very end of Ridgewood Drive where it connects to, I think that road is Candlewood now, between the city and the developers.
And before we get done, there'll be some street lights as well, so.
Good.
Okay, well, Chair will entertain a motion concerning the Ridgewood Villa Townhomes final plat.
I'll do it if somebody else doesn't. I'd like to make a motion to approve the final plat for, let me get this right.
Ridgewood Villas.
For, final plat for Ridgewood Villas, on Ridgewood Drive, I'm not gonna say all those numbers. Including, a waiver reducing the building lot and utility easement from 25 to 20 feet along Ridgewood Drive, and reducing the typical rear building lot and utility easement for all 40, from 10 feet to 0 for all 42 lots shown. Does that cover it?
Second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion before we go to vote? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so
Alright.
much.
Sounds good.
Amanda, are we doing the bond amount now?
Yep. Next on the new business, rear property development, Ridgewood Villa Townhomes bond amount, Mr. Sowers.
All right, so they have submitted a bond estimate from the engineer at, So for this, the public, we really only bond public infrastructure. So we are looking at sidewalks along a portion of Pauline Drive right here, and then turn the corner, go all the way up to Ridgewood Drive where it meets, at the end of this, easement. So they'll put public sidewalk from property line to property line on all 4 lots. So that is approximately 990 linear feet at $18 a foot, with the additional 25% contingency equals $22,275. So we would ask that that bond amount be approved for 1 year. Effective today. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Entertaining a motion on the bond amount?
I make a motion that we approve the bond amount of $22,275 for Ridgewood Villas Townhomes.
We have a motion.
Effective date of
Oh,
today
effective today.
for 1 year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second for the 1 year bond amount, $22,275. Any other discussion before we go to vote? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank all of you, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Shine.
Thank you.
So it's time to go watch the Cats, right?
That's right.
Getting close.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. This is a zone change request, a portion of 599 Richmond Road North. Mr. Jerry Little requesting zone change from R3 multifamily residential to B2 major business district. Anything special we need to do other than recognize Mr. Little for the conversations, or we're swearing in and all that?
I'm Jerry Little, representing Jerry Little. The property we're talking about here this afternoon, or this
Mr. Little, if you will, we're gonna have,
Oh, I
Mr.
gotta
Gilbert
be
will
sworn
take
in?
care of the swearing in.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I hope so. Yes.
There you go. Okay.
Well, I hope so.
Like I say, I'm Jerry Little, representing Jerry Little. The piece of property we're talking about is up on 25 North. I call it the old bus garage. It's beside a Brill Healthcare. And the existing zoning classification given to this portion of the property is inappropriate, and that the proposed zoning, proposed zoning classification is appropriate on the basis there currently exist 2 zones on the lot, which a portion of the lot in the structure thereon are zoned primarily used B2. The principal primary use of the entire lot in the structure therein has been commercial major business in existence for many years, probably 50 years. And the current primary building is not residential, but it is divided into 2 zones. And what this would do, my goal is, it would be to have the one zone on all the property matching the lines. And that's what I'm asking for.
And Amanda, what does the comprehensive plan say about those lots?
So I currently have on the screen, this is the current zone map. So you see B2 in the front and R3 in the rear. And the future land use map shows it exactly the same. So I would just remind the commission that our first duty would be to recognize whether this this zone map amendment request is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. And then also just mention that if in fact it's not, that either justification that another justification must be used, that either it was inappropriately zoned and the proposed zone is more appropriate, or that there have been social or economic changes.
I can say as a realtor, it makes the property, I mean, you just can't really do anything with the property when it has two zone things on it like that. So it definitely needs to be one or it needs to be the other, because that's a real problem when you go to sell the property. So we definitely need to do one or the other. Given the new bypass and, you know, and several things have happened in that area, you know, I think it's very well called for to be business there, but that's just me.
There's nothing else business or residential on that road.
Mhm.
It's all road frontage. They're being what to do with that.
Yeah.
I can't see why we wouldn't move it to business.
I don't believe I've ever been down Exodus. It doesn't dead end, does it?
No.
Runs, go ahead.
Yeah, it actually runs all the way back to Oakwood Drive.
Okay.
But it becomes, I want to say, more of a private drive through there.
Part of it's a city street and part of it's is a existing easement that cannot be closed. It's got to stay open. It actually runs from 25 to Oakwood. It's been there for years.
But it's not paved the whole way.
It's what?
It's not paved?
Yeah, part of it is, yeah. About 2/3 of it is.
So if I turned off 25, I couldn't drive the whole way down and get on Oakwood?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, you could.
You could.
Okay, okay. Never been on that street, sorry.
I think it's just been an oversight on, you know, everybody's part. It's just sort of always been like that, but it shouldn't have been probably from the beginning.
And we have lots of areas where zone maps, when they were originally laid out, just didn't match parcel lines. So this is a pretty common occurrence to have a zone line not match a parcel line.
Amanda, what's on past his lot on the right? Going to
These are all single-family dwellings, so that's a single-family dwelling, isn't it, Jerry?
It's my house. My son lives in it.
And then these are houses
It's
that
zone
front on-
B2, everything's zone B2 on the left up Exodus, everything's B2 all the way up. The house is even zone B2. The apartment house is zone B2. It's all B2 up on the left.
And we did send all notices as required.
I mean, I think this, I agree with Stephanie, it all needs to be one zone. And I think this is something like, as we come up this year in updating a comprehensive plan, wouldn't it be great if every homeowner, every property owner in the community would look at that
Yes.
so that these kind of things are caught when we update instead of 5 years later? I'm not throwing you under the bus, Mr. Little, on that.
I'm gonna make a comment after we get done about that, okay? I've took me a pretty good lesson, okay? That's all I
Well,
can say.
you did approve the last comprehensive plan.
I've took a pretty good lesson. I'm an old man. I thought nothing. I'll wait till we get done. That's all I'm gonna say.
So in the full disclosure from the chair, I'm chairing the meeting, but I would abstain for any vote because I'm also an adjoining property owner on this. So I assume I can be comment freely on that, but I wouldn't be voting tonight or anything like that. So I'm residential. I'm on the, you see where the R1 is up there in that box? That's my backyard.
Okay.
So,
God, I've learned where you live and.
and me and Mr. Little have
Material.
talked about it, and we've talked to the neighbors. And
I've talked to the neighbors.
Yeah.
I went and saw them personally and told them what's going on. You know, if you get one of them letters, and it would upset anybody if they didn't know what's going on, and I personally went and talked to them. There's just two more, just Greg and his two neighbors, and I talked to them. Yeah, I'd want to tell them nothing's gonna happen. We get done, I'll say something.
Is there a fence back there, Greg? You tilt it down through there and the fence is
There's an old, it's, well, there's a lot of shrub line, but there's a couple old fence posts and there's probably some wire fence,
But it drops down probably 6 or 8 foot. This is lower than the residential houses. They've got a big, good barrier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably part of it's 10 foot up to the residential housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a tree line and all that. It's
B1, what could be built? This man.
B2.
It's B2. B2.
B2 would allow for most any type of retail store. It would allow for most any type of just professional office. B2 is your major business, so it allows for most any use with the exception of manufacturing, industrial, storage is permitted in most of B2.
Unless I was thinking it's noise or something like that, so, yeah, it's B2.
B3 right now allows for apartment house. Multiple apartment houses, what it's zoned for right now. But it splits my building in two. Part of it goes right across the building.
So it's interesting that it's got a Richmond Road address, but it's pretty narrow, correct?
It's about 160 foot wide probably. What is
Okay.
it, man? Does it show there? It may be wider than that. Can't remember.
And you can actually turn off Richmond Road onto the property, or do you have to turn onto Ellipse?
I've
Or
got
Exodus, I'm sorry.
I've got a fence. I've got a fence behind the building to so that just to keep it there. It's sort of divided.
Yeah.
So it does have entrance off of Richmond Road here.
Oh, yeah, I can move the fence and go right on, yes. Was it 160?
150-ish.
I thought it was, pretty good sized. I guess one time there's a Buick car dealership there, they've been a Chrysler dealership there, they've been a prefab house. Some guy tried to do prefab houses there one time, I think, and it's had a little bit of everything. It's in the Oliver family. I think they bought it in, I think I looked and they bought it in 1959. They owned it up to 5 years ago. I guess 4 maybe or something. 4 or 5.
If there's no more discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Chair's open to a motion, sure.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, the zone change, accept the zone change on 599 Richmond Road, Berea, Kentucky, from being split with R3 and B2 to the entirety being B2.
Motion?
Based on the
Based on what?
finding that the existing zoning classification is inappropriate and the
Right.
proposed zoning is more appropriate.
Yes. Yeah.
If I may
Second it.
amend that.
I second it.
All right.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion before we go to vote? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I want to say one thing now. I've been around here a long time, and you'd think I'd know what zones and everything is, but you buy something that's been a business for 50 years, you just don't assume. And I've been trying to get my affairs in order, and I found out probably about 6 months ago that this thing had 2 zones on it. I would advise anybody that buys a piece of property, you know, you can have the title search done, find out what zone it is. That's all I'm gonna say. Just cause it's been used doesn't mean that's the zone of it. And you could run into a lot of problems. And it does cost you too, you know, you understand it, but it's pretty good on my account there. I should have known. I never thought to check it, but I just, one of them things. Thank y'all, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I can relate Mr. Little because I bought when we bought our property here, I didn't realize we were buying 2 lots. Cause the realtor said, well, I think the property line's halfway between these. And then when the closing, right, deed comes by and it says lots A and B.
The best thing you ever done when you buy a piece of property is take nothing for granted.
Yeah.
You better get it checked from one end to the other. And you'll be much better off. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
And when I got it recently surveyed, I gained 3 more feet.
What about if you'd lost 3? I was in a deal once and a neighbor got aggravated at me and wanted me to get it surveyed, and she lost about so much, but I just left it like it was. I didn't care. It was no big deal, but it's one of them things. See,
Thank you, Jerry.
All right. So does that officially close the public hearing part? I know we got a discussion on, okay. All right, the public hearing is closed. We are discussion for update on Queensboro Street Bond, release and street acceptance on Central Park North.
Yep, just thought I would let you guys know that, we accepted, streets at Queensboro, which is Central Park North Block 2. So that is the section where most of Mr. Carpenter's apartments are, kinda at the back of Queensboro.
Gotcha.
We accepted the streets into the city maintenance, and he installed the sidewalks on the couple remaining lots. So we have since, released the bond, accepted the streets, that one's off the books. So, that's what we like to hear, so I thought I'd report that to you guys. I'll keep rolling through these discussion items if that's okay?
Yes, please do.
All right, 2025 comprehensive plan update, so wanted to just let you know that we put out a, RFP for those services, in December. We sent those out to, 8 different companies that we know do comprehensive plans, including, the 2 companies that have done our previous 2 comp plans. We've got a lot of feedback from that. I've actually met with 2 companies that we didn't send it out to, but that saw it on the RFP that was on our website. We've also published it in the paper. So just trying to get the word out so that we get a qualified, consultant to do that work for us. Those proposals are due back to us on February 7th, so I fully expect that our February 11th work session will be us reviewing those proposals.
Okay.
From there, I would like to narrow it down to maybe 3 to 5 companies that then we interview or somehow further narrow it down to pick our final consultant that we'll go with. And then my last question to you guys is, we have an opportunity. They are replacing, so the city council have iPads that they use to, instead of printed copies, they just bring their iPads to council meetings. And we have an opportunity to actually just get their old ones. So they've just recently been replaced. They're still good machines. And I wondered if the general consensus was that you guys like the paper, or if you would just as easily prefer bringing your iPads that the city would furnish to you.
You know, about the iPad myself, but
I think
Okay.
I would too.
I'd be fine with it. Would it also have
We will put
this
the-
stuff?
We did,
and-
we talked
okay.
about that. Melissa said we need to put their LMDO and the comp plan on there for sure. So, yeah, we'll include your materials, and that way you're just bringing one thing, and we're not printing all this paper. Okay?
Do we get to choose whose iPad we get?
They'll all be cleared.
Don't tell us who's who's.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm joking.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
joking.
IT will at least clear them. No, I can't speak in terms of abuse, right?
I was just thinking maybe there were some that were used less than others.
Oh, I guarantee that. Yeah, I guarantee that.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, yeah.
all right.
So I'm seeing head nods. I think everybody's okay with that.
Whatever's easier for you all is perfect for me.
Okay. All right, good. All right. Some people like a printed. There's lots of things I still like to print and look at.
Yeah.
And so it's okay if that's what we decide to do. It's whatever's easiest for the group. But I think for most things, it's just as simple to look at it on a electronic version for most of what we do. Okay, well, we will go to that. I don't know how soon that'll be, but I'll be letting you know. There'll be some things like you'll need to come in, probably meet with our IT people and get those set up. But we'll work through that. I'll let you know what's to come.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
all right,
Anything else?
that's it.
Amanda, is there any, new business coming to the city, you know of?
Yeah, we just approved a development plan for a, auto zone. And that's gonna go, so that was one that, it was under the threshold to come to planning commission, but it will be, on the corner of Glades Road and Richmond Road, and it will be in the same lot as the old Renfro's Collision. So it will be going right here. So you know those auto zones are pretty small, kind of shotgun style buildings. So it'll sit right in here.
Oh, okay.
So what happens to Exodus Trucking?
I don't know. I'm not sure what their lease agreement is, but they currently lease that building.
Okay,
So I'm assuming, well, they can't be driving trucks if there's a building there.
Right.
So
I'm just curious.
assume
Yeah.
that they have found a new location.
okay.
And, but I do not know where that location is. And, Melissa, is there anything I'm missing that we can think of in terms of new businesses? That's the only one I can think of that got approved. Yeah, there's some work at White House Clinic. They're actually, have bought a building across from them and renovating it. Lot of little renovation projects going on right now. A lot of Berea College jobs going on right now.
If you go further south on that, there's, I guess it was an old laundromat that's for sale
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Is that, there's a number of buildings, I don't know if they're all in one parcel or
They are,
they are.
There was a gas station chain, what's the name of it out in Kentucky? There's one in Lancaster.
Casey's? No? Oh, 5 Star, okay.
Cause they had contacted Don's estate about some buildings on Richmond Road. And we have them leased, so we could not sell to them.
Mm-hmm.
So then I heard that they were negotiating on that. Y'all heard anything on that?
We've not had anything,
Yeah. Well, I drive around town, I look for big open spaces and like, okay, can we put affordable housing there?
How's the market?
It's good. I mean, it's for this time of year, yeah, weather and all, yeah, it's pretty good.
And then another question, just, sorry to go down rabbit holes. There's so many businesses on that side of Richmond Road there that are all slanted. They're not parallel with Richmond Road. How did that all happen? Subway's one of those.
The road changed. I was raised up in Subway.
Either that or.
Yo.
What was
Used to
it?
be a tasty creek, that's where I was raised.
Yeah, you're talking about this, how these are not parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the,
Well, it's not
The
just
road
that.
frontage.
There's two or three.
yeah, there's a few down through here that way.
Jerry might remember.
Yeah, Jerry, you should ask when Jerry was here.
How it was, and Jeff too, and they're a little generation.
I remember that place, Liberties and Transit and the Shell Station.
And then
Cummins Chrysler,
Jerry's,
Market.
for Jerry's, car lot, there used to be a house, but it used to be the old, park, city park, right? Back in there. Fairgrounds. Fairground, yeah, the old fairgrounds, back years and years. Dude, that's a beautiful piece of property there. There's always been some deer
That wooded piece there? Yeah.
on the cemetery.
Yeah, and then there's that big open field there too.
Yeah, it's like hidden little places. Is that a pond?
Yeah. I don't know who owns it, but
Yeah. I
we
fished-
could put a lot of housing in there. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say